Hello, my name is David. Today I'm gonna present the attrition study I performed for your company. Let's just start by looking over the data that we use for this analysis. The dataset contained information about 870 employees and 37 characteristics for each of those employees. Some of the examples of these characteristics were age, business travel, department, education, and performance rating. There were also other features that from the get-go I knew that they were not going to provide any value, so I dropped them. An example of these features were: is the employee over 18 years old? What is the employee number? And what is the employee count? Let's move on to look at the attrition percentage for the whole company. Out of the 870 employees, 16% of them have left the company. This is an important number because our analysis goes into investigating what are the main differences between this 16% versus the rest of the employees. Looking at employee demographics, we can say that the employees' age range goes from 18 years old to 65 years old. The bulk of the employees' age goes from somewhere from 30 to 35 years old. Moving into employee gender, we find out that the majority of all employees are male. To be exact, this is 59% of them. We decided to investigate the typical employee profile for the research scientist role and came up with some interesting insights. First, people in this role of the research scientist with performance rating higher than 3.5 are actually more likely to leave the company. The second interesting insight is that most research scientists don't have too much work experience in different companies. Most have only worked for this company, and in fact, the typical research scientist has less than 5 years of experience in this role, which is to be expected because most of them are in their early 30s. The last interesting insight is that there is a trend that the younger the research scientist is, the most likely is for this person to leave the company. Let's move on into discussing what are the top attrition causes for all employees and all roles. Based on the data, we identified 6 causes as being the major explainers for attrition. These were travel frequency, specific job titles, monthly salary, marital status, number of previous companies worked, overtime, and age. Looking closely at travel frequency, we identified that employees who travel more frequently are more likely to leave the company versus employees that didn't travel at all or travel rarely. For job title, when looking at job titles, there's some job titles that are more prone for attrition. In this case, the sales representative is one that stands out a lot. This is in line with travel frequency, as sales representatives tend to travel more than other job titles. Looking at the monthly income characteristic, we identified that employees with lower monthly salaries are more likely to leave the company. One of the reasons for this is that most of these employees that have low salaries have sufficient years of experience to actually go and find for better paying jobs in different companies. Moving on to marital status, which is also a big contributor to attrition, we identified that single people are more prone to leave the company. One of our hypotheses for this is that single people tend to be more risk takers. Since they don't have family obligations, they are more likely to favor new job experiences over job stability. Moving on into looking to the number of previous companies an employee has worked for, we can see that in the past, the employee has a track record moving between companies very often they're also more prone to leave this company in favor of a new job. Overtime is also a major explainer for an employee leaving the company. The more overtime hours the employee work, the more likely the employee is to leave the company. And finally, let's take a look at the last major attrition contributor, and this is the employee age. As we can see from this graph, the younger the employee is, the more prone is to quit and look for a new job. Alright, so based on all the characteristics described previously, we were able to build a prediction model that helps determine the likelihood of an employee leaving the company. As you can see from the model success metrics, the previously discussed characteristics actually do a very good job at predicting if an employee will result in attrition. We built two models. We built a K&N model, which wasn't very accurate, but we also built a logistic regression model that was a little bit more balanced on sensitivity and specificity. I hope that this presentation was insightful, and thank you for your time.